Alright, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to react to how men lose power in relationship. This is a very highly controversial video, alright? And this is a video that we can learn from as men to be more assertive, be more proactive, be more aware of what's going on in a relationship and have an understanding of how to navigate and to fully understand how to operate in a relationship. All right, without further ado, let's react. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. All right.
Band, and this is Psych-Hacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is the beginning of the end. So I'm going to be talking today specifically to the men in the audience. Gentlemen, I'm going to help you prevent your relationships from going off the rails. Let's get to it. Now, everybody is different, and every relationship is going to be unique to the individuals involved. But if you've been following my work, you know that, in general, I believe that relationships are more successful and sustainable when the man is the captain and the adored, and when the woman is the passenger and the adorer. If you're unfamiliar with these terms, then you should read my book, The Value of Others, where I go into these concepts in extensive detail.
It's basically saying it's not like a passenger princess type of scenario where, you know, a passenger princess, you have to give her everything. No, it should be the other way around. A man asks his wife for something, a man requests something, she should be able to give it to him or help him to reach that next level, because the both of you will shine at the end.
And I believe this because when the man is in this position, he maintains frame. Frame, in this context, is authority vested with power to dictate the terms and structure of the relationship, how it is arranged, how it unfolds, what it entails, who does what are the privileges and responsibilities of each, etc. When men control the frame, relationships have a much better chance of being mutually satisfying and enduring. And regardless of the mixed messages that they give men these days, the vast majority of women still want a guy that they can look up to be the confident leader that...
Yeah. Females love when they can look up to you and understand you and treat you better. But how do you get to that next point where, like, you telling her how you can navigate going through certain scenarios, she will understand. Not a lot of guys have that capability. Not a guy understand that capability of to teaching her things and to lead, you know?
Initiates and directs the relationship. However, in about 99% of the relationships that I've personally examined, the woman is more powerful than the man, which means that she controls the frame of the relationship. And I think this has to do with why, despite the fact that I've looked at hundreds and hundreds of relationships, I can count the number of relationships that I would consider happy, like relationships that I personally would want to be in, on one hand. And I don't think it's a coincidence that in every one of those relationships, the man was more powerful than the woman. So if relationships are more satisfying and enduring when the man retains frame for both the man and the woman, why is it the case that women so often control it? Now, there are two main ways that this occurs. In the first case, it happens right from the beginning. The man, who may not be a full-fledged captain, cedes control of the relationship to the woman as an enticement to enter into a relationship with him. In the book, I call this the sexual strategy of the ferryboat captain. This is how less attractive men beat out their intrasexual competition. They offer women privileges that their more attractive counterparts wouldn't.
So it's most definitely like a simp. A guy that will say, all right, he will offer like his simpiness, his simping capabilities for pleasure and stuff like that, and she will just give it to him because she will basically be receiving exchange. You would call exchange, so rather he would buy her like an iPhone 17 and she will just sleep with him. And I see that a lot in today's relationship with persons. So what he's saying is facts. I like where he's going with this.
Ultimately, the frustration of not getting more of what they want from more attractive men, in combination with the gratification of getting more of what they want, at least in the short term, from less attractive men, can motivate women to enter into relationships with less attractive men, where they can, more or less, dictate terms from the get-go. Whether they're aware of it or not, these men understand that happy wife, happy life is the cost of doing business. However, this is not the only way that women come to control the frame of a relationship. In some cases, the man enters into the relationship as a full-fledged captain, invested with the legitimate authority such a position enjoys by the woman in question. But over time, slowly and insidiously, the balance of power shifts so completely that the man no longer recognizes his own life and can't quite remember how things turned out this way. In point of fact, most men control the frame at the beginning of the courtship process and lose it through small concessions as the relationship progresses.
Yeah, I totally understand what he's talking about. In the beginning, you set your boundaries, you will set like certain things that the female should pass over, but over time you get so comfortable, things going so smoothly, you forgot, and the female will take that opportunity to try to lead, to try to persuade, to try to get things out of you, bro. Gotta stay focused all the time. There's no time for not being focused. Always gotta be aware, assertive, and focused, right? So you don't fall into that trap. Because once you fall into that trap, it's gonna be a whole different ball game.
Consider your first date with your girlfriend or wife. Chances are good that you approached her with a plan. I'd like to take you out. Let's meet at this time, at this place, on this day, and this is what I'd like the two of us to do.
Right.
And that she agreed to that plan. You created an experience for her to enter into. That's frame. It's very unlikely that you would have been able to secure that opportunity without creating such an experience.
Right.
And it's even less likely that she went through the trouble of creating an experience for you to enter into. So most relationships begin with the man in charge. Mm-hmm. And just so we say the quiet part out loud, that's why the woman's there. Women reward men.
They basically set the tone from the beginning. That's why you have to stay consistent. You have to stay consistent. You know, sometimes don't make the woman do too much when it comes to like planning dates and stuff like that. Because sometimes they don't know. They don't know what to do or how to make it really. It's for you to make them more like you're planning a date. Like it's more of you trying to let them happy. We're not gonna talk about who are gonna spend or what yet. We're talking about you trying to make her happy, feel good, feel more in her feminine era, or feel more loved, I would rather say. Right?
Who use frame to create an experience for them to enter into. They do not chase down men who don't or won't do this. This is important to keep in mind throughout the duration of the relationship, as men will be tempted to surrender frame in a variety of ways over time.
Okay.
This temptation occurs in two primary ways. Sometimes it's the temptation to escape an uncomfortable emotional situation created by the woman in a bid for more power and control. As I discussed in the Easter egg hunt, these bids typically follow the PSA system of emotional manipulation, or pity, shame, anger, PSA. No matter the particular thumbscrew, the woman applies emotional pressure on the man, who then cedes frame as a way of buying his way out of a difficult dynamic. As I discussed in the book, in its extreme manifestation, this takes the form of an attempted hijacking, in which the woman threatens to leave or divorce if her demands are not met. activating his latent romanticism. This romanticism, in turn, either motivates him to sacrifice more and more of his life for his one and only, or tempts him into the ideal of equal partnership. This might sound surprising, but as I've discussed previously, partnership is the most prevalent male romantic ideal in our culture today. This might sound appealing in the abstract, and many might disagree with their words, but most women don't want to be either pedestalized or partnered. Think back to what I said just a few moments ago about the early stages of courtship. The woman is there because the man created an experience for them to enter into. Most likely, the experience did not occur at her convenience, which is what would be necessary if being pedestalized was preferred, nor did it occur as the result of some collaborative process, which is what would be necessary if partnership were preferred. It occurred because the man invited the woman into an experience that he created using his power, autonomy, creativity, and resources. Women teach men that this works by responding positively to this structure, and men deviate from what works at their own risk. So, how exactly does this happen? I'm going to describe the moment when the man begins to seed frame to the woman so that you can recognize it and respond to it appropriately. I call this moment the beginning of the end, because failing to respond appropriately puts the relationship on a slippery slope toward dissolution, or worse, an expensive, unsatisfying marriage. This occurs when A, the man is sufficiently emotionally invested, and B, the woman, directly or indirectly, wants something from the man that he authentically doesn't want to give.
So sometimes basically we want to give, but it's like you want to say no. It's like you would have said no. Not everything you ask for you would have get. Because some relationship, what me say out there right now, if a female asks a man for something, and in today's world, it's like they must say, like the female, they must say like, anything you ask a man for, you should give it to her. In some cases, bro, if you can't afford it, if you can't, or if you genuinely don't want to give it, it should be okay to say no. It should feel comfortable to say, babe, can't get this right now, or babe, I don't want to give you this right now. It's probably some other time, or just say no to see what their reaction or what their response are gonna be like. If you just just to feel them out and see, whoa, how you stay in a relationship, how everything's set.
The request could be big, let's get married, let's move in together, or small, let's go antiquing on Sunday, let's go to brunch with all my couple friends. But in general, the requests start small and escalate.
You might tell a woman no it and she just be so tantrum, like getting a tantrum, like why you don't want to give it? It could be alright. So for instance, it could be like monetary, like money, and you want to give her, but it's like I say, no, just to see her reaction, and she behave in such a tantrum way, like you have to be puzzled, like why she's behaving like that. A lot of case scenario what me understand or what based off my research in life so far is a lot of these females they grew up in a household where them parents give them everything, so them don't know the value of building something brick by brick or working for something. So sometimes we say like, babe, no, I don't want to give them. Just to see, just to feel them out, just to see, hear what they would have say, and improve themselves there. Get so angry for no reason. It make no sense. Bro, be wise out there.
Over time. Now, if the man weren't emotionally invested, this wouldn't be a problem. He would just say,
you just blow it off and be like, oh, yes, take it. Do what you want. If a man continue to say yes, bro. You know, in a sense, it's like, him doesn't say yes, just say so that you could just shut up or just go about your deal. Meanwhile, sometimes a man can just say no, just feel it out, just see how much you really want it or appreciate it.
no. Because, as I talk about in Women Are a Roll of the Dice, he isn't gambling with more than he can afford to lose. However, once he crosses a certain point, he comes to believe that he can no longer say no, even though he would like to, because he fears the consequences of doing so. He fears the discomfort that will arise in himself in seeing his woman angry or disappointed. He fears the pain that he would experience were she to leave him. Once that fear takes hold, which is the consequence of his overinvestment, he is no longer a free man, and he increasingly abandons his authenticity in favor of emotional defensiveness. He's trying to protect himself. The issue, of course, is that this doesn't work. That fear is a liar. It lies. It only takes like 10 seconds to see through the lie. Namely, if you actually needed to give a woman certain things that you don't authentically want to give in order to prevent her from leaving, then she would have left by now. You haven't given her those things.
So if you, basically, like if I say like, if sometimes I tell a woman no, and she not make it a big deal or a big fuss, but I'm gonna leave because you can't provide, I'm gonna leave because you can't do this anymore. If she stays, like she's the one, like she respected you, she respect you, she adore you, like she that don't really bother her like to the point where she gotta trick me and say, oh, if you don't give it to her, she's gonna leave, or why you can't do this, why you can't do that, you know. That's some of the key rules, key things you should look for when you're in a relationship. Totally agree.
Things in the past, and you've gotten this far. You've abided in your authenticity, and she was attracted to you because of it. So on some level, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, man. There is no evidence that not doing something you feel conflicted about will threaten the basis of the relationship, and a lot of evidence that doing what you authentically want to do will secure the levels of success and stability that you've enjoyed up until now. So that's how the fear lies. Just like the initial stages of courtship, it's generally a much better idea for men to maintain frame over the course of the relationship. This is what I'll do, this is what I won't do, and allowing the woman to either opt in or out as she so chooses. Of course, not getting what they want in the short term can be frustrating and disappointing to a woman. And that's okay. That's okay. She's entitled to her feelings, and you don't have to make her feel differently. Let her feel how she's going to feel. It's not going to kill her, and it won't kill you to let her experience her emotions. She's an adult. She can handle her feelings. You do not need to make her feel better, and you do not need to give her what she wants just to avoid this experience. That said, there may always be a pull in men to do one or the other. However, I bring this up because it is so much easier to resist these emotional impulses when they first present themselves. As difficult as it may be, it is always better to fight these battles when they are still small, because they will only get bigger and more difficult to win with reinforcement. We don't like to talk about it, but being in a position of power often means that you have to deny and reject others. Consider a professional relationship between an employer and an employee. Can you imagine a company in which the employees were allowed to dictate their own compensation packages? Since everyone pretty much believes they deserve more than they receive, it's very likely that that strategy would make that company insolvent very quickly. And then everyone would be out of a job, including the employer. Whether employees are aware of it or not, their continued employment often depends on their not getting what they want. Of course, this is a balance. Give people everything that they want, and you threaten the basis of the relationship. It becomes insolvent. However, give people too little of what they want, and they protest and leave. That said, while the second option is potentially inconvenient, it should be preferred to the first, as it doesn't also result in the destruction of the company. So it's better to err on the side of giving too little than too much. In general, the price of getting most of what you want is the willingness to forego getting everything that you want. Remember, a woman who sees you as her best option is not going to leave her when you tell her no. On the other hand, the more you tell her yes, that is, the more you give her what she wants, the more expensive and difficult the relationship will become for you.
Facts.
Catering to her desires, usually due to emotional overinvestment, increasingly transfers control of the frame to the woman, which often signals the beginning of the end of the relationship. However, this can be prevented by recognizing and tolerating your own fear and choosing not to surrender to its behavioral impulses.
That's why sometimes it's best to be to stand on ground, stand on business. When you say no, no means no. Not sometimes, it's, whatever the case may be, sometimes you can afford it, sometimes you just can't afford it. Don't be afraid to just express yourself. Don't go out of your way over expressing it. Oh, seems weak. Weak, you're gonna seem weak. And you have to build these characteristics to have a really good, sustainable relationship. If you believe what he's saying is right, if you have any opinions on this type of video, let me know in the comment section. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe and follow me. Alright?